In December 1972, as the Vietnam War entered its most decisive phase, the United States launched a strategic bombing campaign known as Linebacker II. Relying primarily on B-52 strategic bombers, symbols of American air power, Washington believed that a concentrated, devastating strike against Hanoi would force North Vietnam into submission. The capital became the central target of the largest aerial assault ever conducted in the history of modern warfare. Facing this existential challenge was Hanoi's Air Defense Force, with its core being the 361st Air Defense Division, an elite unit honored by the people as the Red Guards of the capital. Under the most perilous circumstances, they entered a strategic, decisive battle with steely resolve, determined to defend Hanoi's skies and the destiny of the nation. The B-52 strategic bombing campaign of late 1972 was not a surprise to Vietnam. As early as the beginning of the 1960s, Vietnamese leaders had foreseen that sooner or later, the United States would employ its most powerful strategic air force to strike Hanoi, the political center and command heart of the North. President Ho Chi Minh repeatedly warned that the United States would only truly concede defeat when the B-52s were defeated, and that such a decisive battle would inevitably take place over the skies of the capital. From that strategic awareness, the Central Military Commission directed a systematic, long-term, and persistent study of how to counter B-52s. For many years, missile units were deployed into real combat, testing tactics and drawing lessons in Military Zone 4, gradually shaping a distinctive art of warfare to confront the flying fortresses. After years of research, experimentation, and practical combat experience, by October 1972, the Vietnam People's Army completed a top-secret manual on how to fight B-52s. This was not merely a technical handbook, but the crystallization of strategic thinking, military creativity, and real combat experience, serving as the unified training foundation for the entire air defense force across North Vietnam. Based on this doctrine, operational plans were continuously reviewed, supplemented, and adjusted, with Hanoi, the primary B-52 target, given the highest priority. Every possible scenario, direction of attack, and electronic jamming method employed by the enemy was carefully calculated. Just before the launch of Linebacker II, the 361st Air Defense Division completed its third refinement of the B-52 engagement plan, fully prepared to enter the decisive strategic battle to protect the capital's skies. On the foundation of the completed B-52 engagement doctrine, a multi-layered, multi-tiered air defense posture was urgently constructed around Hanoi. The entire air defense system was organized into 3 interlinked operational belts, tightly combining fixed positions with mobile forces to form a solid defensive network covering the capital from long range to close quarters. Aircraft, artillery, and radar units were scientifically deployed, guarding every direction from which B-52s could penetrate: northwest, northeast, southwest, and from the sea. Each key sector always had multiple battalions ready to lock onto targets and conduct coordinated intercepts through concentrated firepower. When B-52s appeared, units could launch missiles simultaneously, creating a multi-layered, multi-directional fire net designed to destroy strategic bomber formations at high altitudes, zones the enemy still believed to be absolutely safe. On December 18, 1972, the United States officially opened the strategic bombing campaign, Linebacker II, mobilizing an unprecedentedly massive air force. Nearly 200 B-52 strategic bombers, along with more than 1,000 tactical aircraft and electronic warfare planes, were committed with the ambition of delivering a decisive blow to force North Vietnam into submission through overwhelming aerial destruction. However, contrary to Washington's calculations, Hanoi was not caught off guard. From that very afternoon, Vietnam's technical and electronic reconnaissance systems detected B-52 formations taking off from Guam, quickly identifying the enemy's main attack directions. The information was immediately reported to the General Staff Headquarters. In response, an urgent order was issued. All North Vietnamese air defense forces were placed on Combat Readiness Level 1. The strategic decisive battle over the skies of Hanoi had officially begun. On the night of December 18, 1972, Hanoi's sky was rapidly engulfed in an unprecedentedly fierce confrontation. As B-52 formations entered North Vietnamese airspace, the U.S. Air Force deployed extremely powerful electronic jamming systems, using EB-66 aircraft and fighter escorts to conceal flight paths and paralyze Vietnam's radar detection and fire control capabilities. On radar screens, dense layers of white noise overlapped and intertwined, forming an electronic curtain that seemed impenetrable. Yet, drawing on years of accumulated combat experience and absolute composure, Vietnamese radar troops quickly distinguished different types of jamming, identifying dense, bright, steadily moving interference bands, the distinctive signature of incoming B-52 formations. The enemy's primary attack axes were successively isolated and accurately determined. Hanoi was shaken by a torrential rain of bombs. Thousands of bombs fell on airfields, warehouses, transportation hubs, and suburban areas, with many critical targets hit, marking the opening of 12 days and nights of fierce, decisive combat over the capital's skies. Amid the heavy bombardment and dense electronic jamming of the night of December 18, 1972, Battalion 59 of Regiment 261, 361st Air Defense Division, waited for the decisive moment. Confronted with the enemy's modern jamming systems, the unit did not use conventional guidance methods, but proactively applied the three-point firing tactic, manually tracking targets, an innovative creation of Vietnamese air defense forces to counter B-52s. When the B-52 formation entered optimal range and altitude, the combat crew calmly unleashed their firepower. 3 SAM-2 missiles were launched in succession, tearing through the night sky and streaking straight toward the target. Seconds later, a massive fireball erupted in the sky. At 2013, on December 8, 1972, the first B-52 was hit, caught fire, and crashed on the spot in the Phu Lo area of Soc Sun. This was the first B-52 destroyed over the skies of Hanoi, shattering the myth of the invulnerable flying fortress in the very opening battle. The achievement of downing the first B-52 was not only confirmed by battlefield confidence, but was quickly verified by concrete evidence. That very night, military intelligence and technical teams were dispatched to the crash site in Phu Lo, Soc Sun, to collect still-hot wreckage from the destroyed aircraft. On a large fragment, the inscription B-52G was clearly visible, conclusively confirming that an American flying fortress had been shot down on the spot over Hanoi. The victory report was immediately sent to higher command. General Vong Nguyen Giap personally confirmed the achievement and commended the 361st Air Defense Division and the participating units. This affirmation from the Supreme Command held special significance, not only militarily but also in strategic and psychological leadership. From that moment, the obsession with the invulnerable B-52 was officially shattered, creating a decisive psychological turning point for the entire army and people to enter the 12 days and nights of combat with firm confidence in ultimate victory. The downing of the first B-52 quickly generated a powerful ripple effect across the entire Hanoi air defense front. During the night of December 18th and the early hours of December 19th, 1972, air defense units continued to engage fiercely, shooting down additional B-52 strategic bombers along with escorting fighters and attack aircraft. The multi-layered, multi-directional air defense system operated in full synchronization, repeatedly fragmenting and disorganizing enemy attack formations. Throughout the fighting, new tactical innovations, from manual close tracking methods and concentrated multi-battalion fire to flexible engagements by direction and altitude, were continuously applied and proven effective. Each battle added further experience, enabling troops to increasingly master combat situations amid dense electronic jamming and intense firepower. As a result, the loss rate of the U.S. Strategic Air Force rose rapidly to unprecedented levels. The flying fortresses, once considered absolutely safe, were shot down one after another, forcing the enemy to confront a harsh reality over the skies of Hanoi. In the days that followed, the Linebacker 2 campaign escalated to an unprecedented level of intensity. Faced with fierce resistance from Vietnamese air defenses, the United States not only failed to reduce operations, but continuously intensified attacks, deploying ever larger numbers of B-52s. On some nights, up to 120 B-52 sorties were launched, accompanied by dense escort formations, in a determined effort to overwhelm through firepower and technology. Yet amid this storm of bombs, Vietnam's air defense fire net held firm and proved extraordinarily effective. Missile, anti-aircraft artillery, and radar units coordinated seamlessly, closely tracking enemy formations and shooting down numerous B-52s, many of which were hit and crashed on the spot in areas around Hanoi and Haiphong. Each B-52 destroyed represented not only a military loss, but also a severe blow to the enemy's will and confidence. Notably, some air defense units achieved feats rarely seen in the history of air defense warfare. Within just 10 minutes, using only 2 missiles, they shot down 2 B-52s. These successive victories pushed the confrontation to its peak, completely transforming the course of the historic 12 Days and Nights. After suffering losses increasingly severe and far beyond all initial calculations, the United States was forced to confront an irreversible reality. The Linebacker II campaign had failed. In the face of the determined resistance of the North Vietnamese military and people, especially Hanoi's air defense system, on December 30th, 1972, the U.S. president was compelled to announce the suspension of Linebacker II, bringing an end to the largest aerial assault in the history of the U.S. Air Force. According to Vietnam's official announcement, after 12 days and nights of combat, air defense forces had shot down 34 B-52s, along with dozens of tactical and escort aircraft. These figures not only reflected the enemy's severe losses, but also confirmed the complete bankruptcy of the strategy of using air power to impose political will. The resounding victory over Hanoi's skies forced the United States back to the negotiating table, leading to the signing of the Paris Peace Accords in 1973, committing to end the war and withdraw all U.S. troops from Vietnam. This was a strategic outcome that decisively shaped the entire course of the war. The victory in the strategic decisive battle of the 12 Days and Nights at the end of 1972 defeated the most powerful instrument of U.S. warfare, the Strategic Air Force centered on B-52 bombers. It was not only a military defeat, but also the collapse of absolute faith in technological superiority and destructive power. This victory affirmed the intelligence, courage, and indomitable will of the Vietnamese people. A nation capable of accurate foresight, thorough preparation, scientific organization, and creative combat to defeat an opponent vastly superior in material strength. From the skies of Hanoi, a truth was proven. Human strength, when guided by determination and just conviction, can defeat any advanced weapon. Therefore, the victory of Hanoi, Dien Bien Phu in the air, has become an immortal historical symbol, deeply etched into national memory and the history of world warfare.